So Russians are the bad guys? In sports entertainment, we've known that for years. I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling blog who always tells it like it is. Little by little, it seems that the army invading Ukraine is taking it over. Very little, though, which might give them the chance to regroup and for worldwide sanctions to end this war. But I'm not talking about politics here. I'm talking about this growing hatred over Russians in general. Look, folks, even though the invading army are Russians, they are simply following the orders of Vladimir Putin. Some of them don't even know why they're invading in the first place. All over Russia, civilians have been protesting the war. It's not Russia that's the heel in this conflict. It's the guy who gave them their marching orders. But then again, growing up in the 1980s, I was taught from the news and the TV shows that all Russians were evil. I grew in fear of nuclear war and hated the Soviet Union for wanting to destroy the world that way, but my mom would set me straight and say that many Russians felt the same way about the US because that's all they were told by propaganda. But they, like me, were just innocent bystanders, blasted with us versus them stuff. It was only then I realized that only the Russians in charge seemed to be evil, or at the very least, too set in history's ways to change. Now with this new conflict, it seems like Russia is on everyone's S list again, even though it's just one person who's directing it. Of course, being 50, I know this already, but it got me to thinking, is that what made Russian pro wrestlers such great heels? Or were any of them actually Russian to begin with? The first Soviet superstar I watched was Nikolai Volkov. He would always march to the ring with the Soviet flag held high and sing a bar or two of the Soviet national anthem, which is the same tune as the Russian national anthem since Putin came into power, mind you. His longtime partner, former WWE champion Iron Sheik, would then shout, "Iran #1! Russia #1! USA, ha, toy!" to further ire the crowd. But here's the thing, Volkov wasn't Russian. He wasn't even Lithuanian, as announcers would say after the fall of the Soviet Union when he turned face. He was born in Yugoslavia, in the part now known as Croatia. But I guess with his Central to Eastern European look, the WWE bigwigs thought he'd make a convincing Russian. Whether he himself liked the idea or not, I'm not sure, but there was no denying the reaction to him in the ring. After Iron Sheik stepped away briefly, Volkov joined Boris Zhukov in the Bolsheviks tag team. Zhukov had previous experience in the AWA, where he was tag champs with another Russian, Soldat Ustinov. But Zhukov and Ustinov were actually born and raised in the good old US of A. Boris in Virginia and Soldat in Minnesota. But with his shaved head, Boris looked Eastern European and, as a heel of the times, made an excellent Russian heel. The Bolsheviks weren't a successful team. Their WrestleMania moment was losing at WrestleMania 5 to the Hart Foundation in the shortest tag team match in WrestleMania history. He has since retired from the ring. Twice. Of course, they weren't the first Russians in the square circle, not by a long shot. Bruno Sammartino's first WWE title reign was halted by Ivan Koloff in 1971. Sure, the reign was only 21 days before losing to Pedro Morales, but even in the 70s, Russians were hated. But he was actually Canadian. And his so-called nephew, Nikita Koloff, was also born in Minnesota. Sounds like a pattern here? Now, after the fall of the Soviet Union, it seemed like Russian bad guy wrestlers were passé. But when Putin took over, one or two others popped up. First was Vladimir Kozlov. He spent the start of his career in the WWE and appeared in the main roster in 2008, being the Moscow Mauler. He had title pursuits, sure, but the only title he was able to grab were the tag team titles, while a face with Santino Marella. Needless to say, he wasn't exactly Russian, but, are you ready for a mind blow? He was born in the Soviet Union in 1969, in the republic now known as Ukraine. You have to wonder if he ever has regrets being Russian during those years in the WWE. And what's more, he now works for Impact Wrestling as a Russian language commentator. Or maybe not now, who knows if Impact is banned from Russia's YouTube. The most recent main roster Ruski was, of course, Rusev, and he didn't start that way. He started in NXT as the Bulgarian Brute, and was the same way when he joined the main roster, but it was Lana, the ravishing Russian, who was actually American, who got him to love Putin and make him a Russian national hero. Didn't last too long, though, as there was no way people were going to keep believing him as a Russian sympathizer with an outline of Bulgaria filled with the country's flag as a tattoo on his arm. He has since moved to AEW, where he fights as Miro, who is not a Russian, but he does have a god complex. So in the history of the main roster in the WWE, any and all Russians were not even that. Closest was a Ukrainian born when the Soviet Union was still around, but who didn't debut until the split-up. They may make great heels even today, but an actual Russian has yet to grace the arenas of America. But one just might in the future. Current NXT United Kingdom champion Ilya Dragunov was in fact born in Moscow 28 years ago, just after the fall of the Soviet Union and before Putin came around. He is well loved by the NXT UK crowd despite being from the evil country. Will that have to change if he ever comes to Raw or SmackDown? I mean, we're still talking Americans here. Americans who after 30 years have learned to hate all Russians again. Will those who don't keep track of NXT UK hear his entrance, hear the announcer say he hails from Moscow, and immediately start booing him, thinking he must be a heel? I do hope not, because, and I remind you once again, not all Russians are evil. Putin? Yeah. Those who back and take orders from him unconditionally? More than likely. Those ordered into a war they thought they wouldn't fight? Depends on whether or not they desert or hold fire when looking down the guns at their Ukrainian brothers. Russian professional wrestlers? Aside from the fact that all but one aren't actually Russian, they just perform that way. I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling vlogger who always tells it like it is. Stay safe. Pray for peace, and I'll see you